Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second of today's panels on making the most of your conference experience. My name is Ethan Baird. I'm the Executive Director of the Northeast Regional Folk Alliance, and I am here to introduce the evening with some very special guests. For those of you that are coming back for a second round, you might know them already. So we'll just get right in there and introduce them. First, we have I think I'm going to try to do this in reverse order from the last time around. Rory, no, I'm doing it in the exact same order. Rory Kelly, pulling you in. Rory, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Rory Kelly. I'm a singer, songwriter, and Lady Beast, an accidental community maker. When I didn't find the communities that I needed, so I was like, oh, I'll just make them. Really glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, great to have you. We will also pull in Nalini, who I will finally start getting her name right. The first panel was a challenge for me. Oh, I can't hear you. Are you? I think you're muted. There you go.
User error on this side.
Oh, good. I feel like
Thanks for
the
having me
phrase
again.
the phrase "you're muted" is the official quote of 2020 and 2021, as far as I can
Part of
tell.
our new vocabulary.
Yes.
And my name is Nalini Lazowitz. In about 2018, I made a commitment to myself to really full-time address my time and use it for music. And I've been having a blast, including 2 years at attending Far West in person, and then the Folk Alliance International this spring. And so I'm happy to be here and share our experiences.
Fantastic. Great to have you. And we'll bring on our other guest from the first time around, Miss Celia Chavez.
Hi everyone. Hi Ethan. Thanks for having me back. And yes, hi everyone. I'm gonna put myself out here as one of the newbies to conference going, as we established in the last talk. And I'm a professional singer, performing songwriter, and a teacher. And happy to be here to help people overcome any hesitation about conference going.
Well, great to have you back. I like how you thanked us for having you back, as if we would have replaced you in the hour and a half between the last one and this one.
It's very possible I might not have woken up from my nap, so I'm really happy to be here.
I definitely set the alarm for me. And this time around, we've got a special guest that wasn't with us the first time, but another one of our, normally I would say one of our East Coasters, but she's just completely gone off the rails. And we've got Wendy Kylan, who is part of the Prosperous Artist Showcase here, joining us from easily the furthest away, I think.
It's about halfway around the world, so I expect anyone further. Yeah, so welcome from fabulous, let's see, Brisbane, Australia. There it is.
Wow. Well, you're dialing in from tomorrow, so maybe you can tell us how things turned out.
Yes, it's Friday here, Friday noon, and welcome to Friday. And it's Keelan, by the way. Wendy Keelan.
Oh, Keelan, I'm sorry.
Wendy Keelan, it's fine. I'm used to that. Prosperous Artist Success Coaching, and for a number of years I've been doing a workshop. Is my video really slow for you? Because it is for me.
A little slow.
You're a little choppy, but we can see and we can hear you.
Weird, it wasn't doing that when we did it before. But oh well.
The joys of technology, and that's certainly going to be one of our topics tonight, and as we discuss the world of the digital conference and what that means. So, for those of you that weren't with us last time, what we're going to discuss essentially is what goes into making a conference successful. I introduced myself. I am the executive director of the Northeast Regional Folk Alliance, and I am working with the folks over at Far West to make sure that both of our conferences are wonderful. And, I just want to share that I came into this from the perspective of someone that came to a conference having no idea what I would get out of it, or even if I would like it. And, 10 years later, I'm running one of them. So there it goes to show that there's a lot that you can find out as you sort of embrace this new experience. So we're going to have a discussion basically about how mentally to get yourself prepared for a conference. We're going to talk about sort of the interesting new side of, the difference between doing that when you go to an in-person conference, between that and a virtual conference. We're going to talk about everyone's experience in going to conferences, and we're going to answer some questions that people might have and talk about some of the pitfalls, particularly the I went and no one discovered me and put my music in their movies mentality, which, I always hear from someone every year. But we're going to have a bunch of fun discussions. And we'll also look at, for Far West and for NERFA, the actual mechanisms behind the conferences itself. So you can see how to get in, how to interact with stuff, and where to go. So that is my general introduction to everything. And I'm going to sort of keep it simple from here on out. Why don't we start with people sort of sharing their first conference experiences and what worked and what didn't and what they wish that they knew. And we'll go in opposite order. So we'll have the person that teaches how to make the most out of panels to go first. Ms. Wendy Keelan.
Oh, great. Wow. Your question threw me for a loop a little bit, Ethan, because my first NERFA conference was, I think, 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember that much. I do remember. Here's what I remember about first conference experience: is it's overwhelming, right? There's a whole lot of stuff to figure out. There's a lot of people. There's a lot going on. There's a very packed schedule. You don't know where anything is or what anything means yet, and there's a lot to learn the first time. So my thoughts on that are, first of all, just expect that and be really, really gentle with yourself. Don't expect yourself to, have it all figured out. Breathe, take really good care of your well-being. I know I do have a saying for these conferences, although the online version may be different in terms of timing, but I had a saying, sleep is for Monday. In face-to-face conferences, we didn't get a heck of a lot of sleep during the weekend typically. But, making sure you get some sleep and that you take care of your well-being and nutrition and hydration and all of the hydration is super important. So, there's a whole lot of things, taking care of yourself.
We'll get back into all of the things to keep in mind. I think we'll sort of rotate around people's sort of first experiences, and then we'll get into the tips and tricks. Continuing the reverse order, and this is a test for me just to make sure I can remember 4 numbers backwards. And I already did it. Now, maybe I did it right. I have no idea. Nalini, would you like to walk us through your first experience, which was a little bit more recent?
Sure, and I want to make sure my sound's okay. You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Good. So 2018, I went to the Woodland Hills Conference, and I had been recommended by a group of new friends from South Pasadena, and they've all flourished and blossomed into longer term friendships ever since. And I did make a point of doing a recording of 8 of my songs and created a little Far West CD, just a demo tape to introduce myself. And I made an effort to pass those out to 50 people. I just had a target, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I've been a waitress, in my distant past. I know how to go up to people, or a registration manager. You go up to people, you talk to them. And interestingly enough, I found that even in the digital version, the virtual version, you can do a lot of the same networking and one-on-one and introducing yourself to people. So I had a great time that first year, and came back the second year. And the second year, I just wanted to mention, I did like 4 private showcases. It was really fun to go pass out your flyers in the hallway and jump from room to room. So this year I decided to host my own, because it's just going another step in the progression.
I enjoyed being able to toss your commercial on as we're getting ready to start.
Oh, thank you for
You did
playing
a really
that.
nice job with that.
Thanks so much.
We'll move over to Celia and have her walk us through her first experience, which also wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't. It was 2019. right before
Yeah, I was
the
about
pandemic.
you snuck in right before.
Right before. Well, yes, and thank goodness. I was thinking about this, and this wasn't for Far West, our first regional one, but for our first Focal Lines, which we went to a few months after the 2019 Far West conference. And someone said and I think this is true, this is why I'm repeating it. They said the first year, just get to know people, just like build some, you're not going to meet everybody, you're not going to see all the panels, you're not going to see all the shows. Just, think about it, relationship building, make some contacts. If you can look at the directory of who's coming to the conference ahead of time, that's been really helpful for us to kind of look for people. So the first year, just meet people, and then the second year, like stay in touch with those people, and then so basically you're kind of giving yourself comfort zone anchors for when you go into this great big gathering, and you can even do that for your first conference. We definitely knew a few people who were going to be there, or we knew people who knew people who were going to be there, and they sent them to come find us. Which we'll talk about the exhibit booths later. That was really helpful to have some place for them to meet us at this crazy big, massive people gathering. And then each year just try and play more. The first year, like Nalini was mentioned, the private Guerrilla Showcase rooms at Far West and the Guerrilla Showcases at NERFA. We did what they said to do, which is like go on and look for hosts and just ask if they had slots left. And we were lucky to get, I think, three showcase slots that first year. And then, like Nalini, also this year, we're hosting a PGS room as well. We're a duo, so we're hosting a room of just duos. And it's been really fun putting that together. And it's really nice to be able to kind of pay that forward, like everybody who didn't know us from Adam and Eve, we remember what that felt like to just be like, oh, we have some place to play, we have stuff to do, and now we can do that for other people. We have a lot of new people in our room, so
I think you bring up a really good point, that the key to a lot of this is simply the networking process. And being able to not just be able to ask for, but to be able to give back, I think is really important for a lot of people. So someone that has a little bit more experience, but I'm going to buy her a couple seconds and continue talking because you just grabbed the drink and I didn't want to do that to you. That just felt mean. Miss Rory Kelly, who has one of my favorite elevator pitch descriptions of any artist I've ever run into.
Okay, so I think I was thinking about it after our first panel. I think I've been going to NERFA about as long as you have, which is like about a decade, give or take a couple, like long enough that I'm not sure. And my first NERFA, I didn't know. I kind of knew externally. I'd never been to a conference before, but I'm a goal-oriented person. I'm a Virgo. And so I knew to get myself together in terms of my goals and make lists of who I wanted to talk to and things like that, although I didn't really actually know anyone in the folk scene, so I didn't know who to talk to, who to put on that list. But I showed up and I didn't know about Guerrilla Showcases, and I didn't know about all of those kind of things. And so I didn't have any Guerrilla Showcases, and I'm at the newbie orientation thing, and they're like, don't sit next to people at dinner, and I'm like, no problem, because I don't know anyone.
That was an easy exercise for you,
right? Done, check. But in a way it was good. I had to go in head first, and I just spent that first conference frantically trying to meet people, frantically going you guys want to form a song circle with me in the lobby, and in 10 minutes or so, let's do this over there. And it worked. And then I went overboard next year. The second year, I think I had 10 Guerrilla Showcases. And I was just running frantically from one room to another. So over time, I've learned to balance that out.
Yeah, and that's certainly a great topic in and of itself, is sort of the doing enough to make sure that you're giving people an opportunity to hear you, but not doing so much that you're not actually able to capitalize on those opportunities. And that is a lesson that we absolutely really should talk about as it relates to virtual conferences, because frankly, it's the same thing. If you end up, invariably there's someone that's going to say, if I have anything less than 10 Guerrilla Showcases, I've failed. That's a really bad way of doing it. And I know some folks at Folk Alliance that had a bunch of Guerrilla Showcases, and they sent the same 15-minute set, the same pre-recorded 15-minute set, to a bunch of different rooms. So one of the important things to realize right ahead of time is, although the performance for the Guerrilla Showcases is could be live, it could be pre-recorded, but is most likely live, the video itself is going to live up there for a full year. So if you're looking for more than one opportunity, make sure that you are not playing the same songs, the same set, in the same place, doing the same thing. You should really look at it as an opportunity to show facets of what you do.
Yeah, especially since some people will see a little bit of you. I mean, if you've never been to one of these conferences in person, it's crazy. Like, people are in and out of the showcase rooms. It's all like hotel hallways with rooms on either end, and people are just going in and out of each showcase room. I don't know really how. It's hard to say if that's similar for the virtual, but another reason not to do the same recorded set is that someone may catch the end of you and want to see what else you do. You know what I mean? And if all they see is repeats, that's kind of not showing them what kind of a performer, or the variation or the variety of performing that you can do, and the variety in your songs.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point. And just the entire notion of make sure whatever you do, you capitalize on it as best you can. And if you're running around between places to do things, particularly live, it means you're leaving the room. And if someone's sitting there and in the virtual chat room saying, man, that Celia Chavez was fantastic, I'd love to know more about her. If you take off and you're running to try to find something else to do, you had someone that was sitting there ready to buy, and now you've left them waiting. So definitely a good thing to keep in mind. I'm going to share, we've got some comments coming in, people saying, hello, President of Far West, is Carrie Appel, who we adore. We've got some people jumping in and giving some positive feedback to you, Nalini.
Thank you so much, Tina. Appreciate it.
And
it's like looking at my personal album, really.
Yeah, it's fun. We've got people sort of jumping in with their opinions too. I believe Gates and Goodell is Bill Goodell, who is in the first one on Facebook, and I think he's dual wielding now. He's on both of them at the same time. I can only imagine how confusing that is. I got one thing to worry about, and I'm already making mistakes there. But it is definitely something. I know artists that overdid it. And Rory, maybe you can talk to us about that 10 Guerrilla Showcase year and what you specifically learned from that experience, because I bet you learned something.
AKA my whole 20s. I think you actually encapsulated it really nicely, which is that if you don't slow down, you don't get an opportunity to receive the fruits of your labor. If you're putting yourself out there constantly, if you're like, here I am, see, I'm being a good conference goer, I got my showcases, you never get the opportunity to have the downtime for someone to actually say, hey, I'd love to book you, And then you're like, oh, I met 2 or 3 people. I didn't get their names because I was running to the next showcase and I don't know who to follow up with. Oops.
Yeah. Celia, I think you're the one that brought it up. I might have pointed it out that you brought it up, but you sort of brought up your first year that you came into it really not knowing what it was about. And you were taking it in more than you were trying to sell yourself. And in the process of doing that, you actually probably made more progress than a lot of people who were sitting there banging on their drums saying, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah, I mean, I really agree with what Rory just said. I mean, you have to leave some space, I think, and also what Wendy said about self-care, because I think even for a virtual conference, like, imagine how you feel sitting in front of your computer all day. You have to give yourself breaks. I know that as a singer and as a vocal coach, like there's attention that you can get, from speaking virtually, or even just not, sitting. It's tiring in a weird way. Conferences in general are really enervating, and it can be even more so just because I think that people overexpress do you know what I mean? And try to put more energy into the communications like this, because some of the body language is maybe different. You're only seeing from here up, and you don't have that space, that physical space that you're sharing. So yeah, definitely don't overdo it, and just know that if this is your first conference, hopefully it's not your only conference, and there is a progression from year to year, and even if you just meet a few people, if you meet a few champions your first year, and it really makes a difference.
Yeah, one of the keynote speakers this year at NERFA, we decided one keynote speaker wasn't enough, so we're doing 3. But one of our keynote speakers is Lisa Schwartz, who's the booking director of the Philadelphia Folk Festival. And one of the things she's sort of famous for saying, sort of in the realms of NERFA, is, when she's asked at the conference, how's this year going? What bookings have you made? What have you done? Her general response has always been, well, I can't talk about this year yet, but last year's paying off real well. Meaning,
that's a good point.
So much of this experience is really planting the seeds for future harvest, kind of.
Ethan, I have a question for you as somebody who's so intimately familiar with it, which is, what kind of people can our, especially newcomers, expect to meet at the conference?
As far as
demographics and the types of attendees to the conference.
Mm-hmm. So I think it probably is going to vary a little bit for the 2 conferences, NERFA and Far West, though. It's what I find interesting is there are definitely a sizable number of the people that are going to attend both conferences are people that used to attend the in-person conferences. But there are also going to be people attending that are attending because it's easier and they can do it. And this, as much of a challenge as the virtualizations of things have been for some of our population, it's actually been a boon for other members of the population. So I know that we have more college age performers coming this year for NERFA than we ever have before. I know that we've got presenters from regions that were just too far away. They weren't going to come to Connecticut to see us. And I know for Far West, there is an entire showcase of Western Canada that's going to be presented. And the majority of those artists have never been to the physical Far West. So they're
sort
really
of a historic.
Yeah, there is a variety that really speaks to, I think, what the regionals always intended on being, which is a place to get a feel for all of the different music cultures within our region. Because, I'm not going to speak for the West Coast because that's unfair. You guys do that. But for the East Coast, the Boston music scene is infinitely different than the New York music scene, which is, it doesn't even it's not even, you wouldn't see them as related if you look at the Long Island scene versus the New York City scene. And the Philadelphia scene is its own thing. So when you're finally able to get all those people together, I know one of the challenges our community has been facing for a while and is sort of doing its best to embrace new ways of addressing is the notion of diversity. I think one of the just basic forms of that is diversity of generational representation, diversity of thought and background representation. All the other stuff we absolutely positively need to work on, but if we can't even manage that, it's going to be hard to try to tackle larger issues, I think. Mm-hmm. That being said, we're trying to tackle it all at the same time because I'm crazy.
It's very exciting. I think we're witnessing history, in so many ways this last year and a half.
Well, I am personally, I get really excited about seeing artists. Oh, it's 10:30. All the lights in my house automatically turn off at 10:30. Sorry about that.
We could see your face pretty good still.
Yeah, I've still got, I've got a kind of okay camera and a kind of okay microphone, but I've got a really good light. That's what I've got going for myself. Anyway, but I get really excited about seeing things like Rory, what you've been doing with your weekly show, and sort of creating a network of performers and building an audience. And I'll let you tell the story, but this isn't an audience that was necessarily coming down to the local UU coffee house to see a performer.
No, it's brand new.
Yeah.
I started, I should say, my cousin Delia Stanley, who has come to NERFA a couple times, had the idea of us doing a weekly thing when, it was quarantine. Everything was shut down. There was no music. All of a sudden, we were both performing musicians. We're like, what do we do? Like a lot of people. And she was like, let's start something. Let's call it Monday Night Muses. Let's do back to back. And then she got back to work sooner than I did because North Carolina opened up a little sooner than New York. And I just kept doing it. I was like, this is really fun. And I just started having many different openers. And I got to tell you, I've got, ironically, this team of people I'm involved with that calls themselves a stream team who are all out in California. And now I've got these stream team pals that I would not have met. Wouldn't have known of their existence if not for 2020 being what it was. And now, every week I go live and I don't know who I'm going to get, but I know there's a guy in Ireland who might tune in. There's a guy in Texas who might tune in. There's a bunch of people on the West Coast and a bunch of people on the East Coast. And it's really fascinating when you think about there's nothing stopping us from continuing to do this. And I was able to reach out to some of the, venues that I might have tried to reach out to who were themselves doing live streaming nights. Like I could show up to those events and suddenly be a character in their existence in a way that I really couldn't do as a girl on Long Island when they're up in Vermont or whatever, So it really has given the opportunity for some good networking, and I think these set of virtual conferences will do that. And I hope we continue to make that a real part of our lives.
I agree. I certainly hope so. Wendy,
It
I think
reminds me of sorry.
Oh, good. I was
But
about
it
to say.
reminds me of salons.
Yeah.
My mom was a beatnik. We moved to Hollywood when I was 2 from the Netherlands, and she was attracted to all the avant-garde. And salons is a great tradition, just like live music is a great tradition. And even though we're digital, you've got your earphones on, you can see their face. It's a very intimate interface. And these are real people singing real songs.
I think it was Peter Lendorf who was in the last meeting or in the last version of this that we did, who pointed out one of the great things about online streaming as a form of performance is every seat is the front row. You're there. There is.
I always say that.
While the intimacy isn't due to physical proximity, it certainly is in being able to see where you are. I want to specifically call Wendy only because we've lost you a couple times and we seem to have you now. So I want to give you a chance to actually get in there and talk some while we got you.
For the moment, yes. I'm not sure what's going on. I usually have really solid internet here, so apologies. Great. What's the question?
We're literally just talking about sort of what we've learned over quarantine and how those lessons will apply to the conference and what we can hope to get out of it, but also what we can bring to it.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, my experience is similar to others. At the beginning of the quarantine, I started doing a weekly Zoom session just to help people deal with what they were dealing with. Like that's just what I started to do, and they were phenomenal, and I did them every week until we didn't need them so much anymore. And there have been so many. Obviously, there have been some downsides to a pandemic. There have been so many upsides to it, and I do think it's really pushed the world technologically, and it's made it possible. I mean, part of why I moved to Brisbane in January was because I could, and because so much of the world has become virtual that I could live halfway across the planet and still run my business and still make my life work. And so I think there's a lot that we've learned just about what the different opportunities are and how to get creative and flexible and make things work in the face of challenges. And I think we've also learned, hopefully a lot, most of us have learned a lot also about managing our emotional selves. Like there's been a lot of challenges to deal with. This is, that I think has hopefully grown most of us as human beings and our resilience and ability to deal with what life throws at us. And as a society, as a community, and Rory was talking about community and just, how to support each other and come together as community, I think has been really huge.
Well, I think that to me is a really good tie-in to sort of the conversation of what people can hope to get out of the conferences, specifically the notion of having an opportunity to have connection and make connection. And Sally, I'm going to put you on the spot here because I made a connection to you through this entire virtual world. We never met in person, but like you become one of my favorite people. We've never met, and that's pretty cool. And it was because of a virtual conference.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, how do we explain that? I don't know. But I think that, the fact that there's that ability to create those connections and those relationships with people who are across the country, who I've never met in person. I think, also it's like when we show up virtually, we know that there's like a time limit to our experience together. And so, people who are ready, and who want to show up and show themselves and share themselves and with at a conference, I mean, just the fact that you're there shows that you have a purpose and that you feel like your creative life is important, and that you recognize that there are other people there that share this, or that there are people there who are looking for what you have to offer, hopefully, and maybe not, but you can probably tell right away by how they qualify themselves, if they have an elevator pitch as great as Rory's, it's clear, and has a built-in filter, by how they respond to that, to the Lady Beast thing, which I love. I love that too. I don't know. Am I making sense? I feel like there's just that time limit and that specific weekend that you have. It's like being on a retreat, but in a way.
Yeah, I think it's I find it interesting because I'm gonna guess at least someone on this is gonna disagree with me, and certainly a lot of people in the outside world would disagree with me. But I feel like time management has become something I've become exceedingly good at because of the pandemic. Because I now have to fit things. Like I am in this box, I am sitting in this table, and I know I have things to do, and I know I'm tired of sitting at this table, so I'm going to time, like here's when I'm here, and then I'm not. Whereas the number of times that I can tell you I went to an open mic at the Burn down in Somerville, Massachusetts, and the open mic went till midnight, and then a bunch of us hung out at the bar until they kicked us out, just because there wasn't that sense of like, all right, part's done, next step. Now, I'm not saying that entirely happily. I miss the Burn. I miss the bar, but I actually think it's made a lot of my interactions with people a lot more intentional, which I feel has been good. Rory, we keep referring to your sales pitch, and you haven't actually made your sales pitch yet.
I know, and it's going to be so underwhelming.
No, it's not.
So I simply describe myself as a singer-songwriter and Lady Beast these days. And when people ask me what that means, they might get a different definition depending on who they are asking me. But it is one of those phrases, like Celia was saying, it has a built-in filter, and that's like a little bit the genius of it, is that there are people who will hear Lady Beast. I actually kind of like road tested this. I went on Facebook and I was like, what do y'all think of when you hear the word Lady Beast? And I had some people who were kind of more my people who were like, I love it. It makes me think of like a badass empowered lady. It makes me think of someone who's fierce. And I had some people who are clearly not my people who were like, it makes me think of like angry women who just don't know how to be happy. And I'm like, I don't want those people in my career anyway. That's okay. I'm sticking with Lady Beast. So it works. It really, like, a lot of people I think are afraid of turning anyone off. But if you turn everyone on, oh, this is getting weird. If you are equally approachable to everyone, you're not important to anyone. If you just are like, hey, this is who I am, it's not that exciting to any one person. Whereas if you're like, this is me, and you can love it or you can hate it, the people who love it are going to be with you all the way.
And the fact of the matter is, I think Seth Godin sort of coined the idea that from a sort of sociological perspective, we've become people of tribes because of the internet, because of everything else. You are no longer, you're not relegated to the people you grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not the only community that you're part of. You can go find your community. You can go find your tribe. And one of the things, Rory, I warned you when you got involved in this, I'm going to praise you a bunch. So I'm just going to keep praising you. One of the things I adore about you is, man, oh man, like, you don't find your tribe, you make your tribe. And that's fun to see. And I've gotten to see it at NERFA. I've literally seen you go introduce yourself to a table of people and walk away with them all following you as if you were a cult leader, a very healthy cult leader, I want to be clear. But, you have that power. And I think it's particularly in the conference space, the ability to make those kinds of deep connections quickly is something to sort of be aware of as an overall thing. So I don't know.
It's powerful. And I think it's partly dumb luck. It's being willing to not have every single person like you. And a lot of musicians, I think, get real anxious when every single person doesn't like them in the room. I do, definitely, But that willingness to be like, here's what I do, take it or leave it, get excited or don't. And the people who are here for it, the people who are your people, will get real excited.
Yeah, and in particular, being able to find the people that really like you, as opposed to the people that are like, I'm here for music.
Sure.
I showed up. I wanted to hear some guitar and a human.
Yep.
As opposed to the people that you have cultivated in your Twitch following, which those people will follow you to the ends of the earth. They're showing up from different countries at different time zones and getting turned on by stuff in the healthy way. Back to
in the non-creepy way.
You started that phrase.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. No. I propagated the bad phrasing. But anyway. So that being said, I love that notion, which is going to a conference is not your goal is not to make 500 friends, 600 friends. Your goal is to go and find your people that will appreciate what you do, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And that is such an important lesson that you teach quite well. That being said, I would love to pivot to my dear friend Nalini. God dang it. Did I do it right?
Did it.
I'm literally convinced I'm doing it wrong at this point, even when I do it right.
I wish my catchphrase was as sexy as yours. Colony with an N doesn't really grab anybody. As a matter of fact, I have to keep repeating it. But anyhow, just building on what you're saying, it's not only can you find people who dig who you are and gravitate to your scene and your vibe, but you can meet people you could collaborate with in the future. Mm-hmm. And I was mentioning in the other session before that all the open mics and song circles and songwriting workshops and conferences that I've attended in the last year and a half virtually has been a remedy during a very difficult time of loss and uncertainty and fears. So I threw myself into it But as a result, I have met people like you were all saying, that you would never have met. And it's just like when I was growing up, pen pals were like that. You could sign up for an anonymous person. Eventually, you might get a photograph, but you become lifelong friends. So distance is not the main factor here. And I've had a chance to co-write with people that I've met at conferences, and then we started working together on Google Docs and Zoom. And I've also been able to record, send in my tracks and have them incorporated in a friend's recording. So I just think that collaboration is one of the greatest results of the networking that you can get in this environment.
And Nalini, you've really embraced that, not just from the collaboration perspective, but really from the creating a hub for other people to find space with your series, which is, I mean, you've essentially been running virtual open mics, and you're running a Guerrilla Showcase. Sorry, you guys called them VPGS, very private, virtual private, virtual private Guerrilla Showcase. You guys make acronyms out of things.
PGS.
I don't understand why.
Hey, I'm new.
That's all good.
I like Guerrilla Showcase. That works for me.
Yeah, nice and simple, nice and straightforward.
I'm quasi-retired. I get a chance to do a lot of time on my music hobby, if you will, songwriting and recording and performing. I do have a band, but I feel like I'm able to do things that some people who have to work a full-time job can't do. And that includes, giving some organization or some structure. And another thing we talked about with our other panel was to encourage people to host one of these Guerrilla Showcases, because it's very inexpensive, compared to what you'd normally spend. And you don't have to decorate a whole room with lights and whatnot. You just have to learn the technology. And if you can build a team of friends and get together, I think any group that's been an open mic for the past few months would be a great host, or a couple artists coming together who normally would appear at a real venue come together. And those are ways you can get a lot of value out of this event.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I think that's a really nice segue into giving people sort of a quick behind the scenes view into some of this stuff, because you talked about the Guerrilla Showcase opportunities, which I think are really quite amazing, but there's also this exhibit hall opportunity, which for artists is kind of, I don't mean I wouldn't suggest, if you don't have the money to do it, don't do it. But if you do, it's a really impressive opportunity to sort of advertise yourself. And Celia, you kind of made the comment earlier that having that home base where people could find you was really important your first year.
No, it totally was. Just because there's so much going on, and I think that the virtual, because people are going to be in the conference platform, right? To have it so that they don't have to leave and go to your website. There can be basically like a portfolio, within that platform that you can set up. And you said, because I'm still learning about the virtual exhibit booths, but there will be, you can make a Zoom room. You can put a link for a Zoom room if people want to talk to you. And
Yes.
that's how we met. That is how we
Yeah,
met.
that's exactly how we met. And it was a joy. I think you, Simon, and I talked for 45 minutes.
Yeah,
It was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everyone else in the room with us was kind of like, all right.
Were there other people in the room with us? Actually, it might have been a little quiet.
I definitely
part of that.
There was someone in there because they were giving us the stink eye, but like they weren't really jumping in with anything. So I was like, I don't care. I'm enjoying talking to them. I went ahead, and you'll see a link on the page right now. I created a completely fake from the ground up conference that you can go to, and you can go to that link, and it literally is all of the same mechanics that you will be using at Far West and for NERFA. So you can go in there, you can get a free ticket, and the only reason I do that specifically is so that you can become familiar with sort of the ticket acquisition process. You get an access code, you can go in, and this is basically how it's going to look. We've got our vendors, exhibitors, sponsor rotator showing us about all the people sponsoring. I literally grabbed some fake logos that I liked. So Girl Power is a wonderful motto. I don't know if it's an actual company. I just kind of found it. And as neat as it would be for the Powerlifter Gym Club to be backing a folk conference, that's a fake one too. But that aside, down here is really how the conference is going to work. You'll have your daily events, your main events, your formal showcases, or your best of the West type things, and then you've got the guerrilla showcases, and you'll have day one guerrilla showcases, day two guerrilla showcases. So if I was Nalini, I would go into my daily guerrilla showcases, and I would just find her showcase. If it was live, you click into it and it would just start playing. If it's already gone through, you click into it and you can watch it after the fact and go through it. It's just sitting there waiting for you, and it will be up there for a full year. So
That's amazing.
Anyone that comes into that space can watch.
I used to own a trade show, and so I'm telling you, for this price, that's an amazing marketing opportunity for any band or singer, songwriter, or publisher. It's great.
It's really a great opportunity, and to your point, Nalini, you made the great point about people that have been doing open mic circles. Like, this is such a great opportunity to share that community within this community. I think for venues that have started doing streaming, this is a great opportunity to show off that you know what you're doing, because I think Rory mentioned it and Wendy mentioned it earlier, but in the early days, we were all just trying to figure out how to get online. And now we're starting to see the difference between people that have figured out how to convey themselves really well in this medium and people that are still kind of fumbling around at it. So this is a great opportunity for venues and for performers to kind of say, hey, I know what I'm doing here. Like, this is me. So while the guerrilla showcases are amazing, I am really a huge fan of the functionality in the exhibit hall. So in the exhibit hall, we're going to have a space where you'll have outside vendors. In this case, again, keep in mind, this is entirely fake thing here. I would love to say that B&H and Tribal Mischief is me. So technically Tribal Mischief is sponsoring everything, but the rest of these, I just kind of threw in companies as examples. Each of these representatives has their own space with a bunch of options. So that could be a larger vendor, like say a B&H audio, where you could go in and you could see their, you could see their description, logo, all of that. You could also see that they have a private video library that they can share. So a vendor can come in and say the vendor could have a commercial showing off who they are, but they also could have a commercial saying, here's a new product that we really like. And, this is the video we put together specifically for Far West or specifically for NERFA, because we think this is for your community. This is the place that they can put that, along with having a live chat where, people can go and say, I really like you. So there's that opportunity for vendors. But as we said earlier, it works equally well. It's equally valid for musicians. So you can go in and Celia, I feel like I've picked on you enough. I'm going to pick on this Benjamin Dakota Rogers kid, where you can go in. And again, you've got the artist, you've got the quick bio, EPK, you've got recent videos. So we can go in and we can say, oh, this guy did a cover of Girl from North County Fair. I wonder how that sounds. The video quality looks great. I mean, that's solid. I dig that. Sounds pretty good too. I don't think I'm sharing the audio, so you guys can't hear it, but I promise you it sounds great. So we
can hear it.
Oh, you can?
Uh-huh.
So it sounds great. You've got a private chat directly in there that's going to go directly to the exhibit hall owner. So you can have the chat there. You've got a sponsor lead where you can basically collect people for mailing lists directly from here. So you can sort of make that as complicated or as easy as you want. You can create as many fields if you try and collect information, or you can just say, yes, please sign up for my mailing list with the checkbox, because the system already knows whether you know what your name and what your email is. So I like that Benjamin Dakota Rodriguez guy. Let's go. I want to. This Petty Chavez group sounds really good. And I'm going to make sure I say Petty Chavez, because before I said Petty Savage, and I think we agreed that's like your industrial rock band version.
That's right. That's our post-punk outfit.
I absolutely. And for what it's worth, I would buy tickets to Petty Chavez or Petty Savage. Either one, I would be happy to go see. But again, you've got this space where you can go in, and you've got the ability to really showcase who you are and what you do. Again, you guys have some great videos too. I really enjoyed looking this up. I basically, for my fake conference, I picked on all of my friends. I almost said my fake friends. I picked on all my friends. I added them here just because I figured they'd be least mad at me. But this is a great place to show people what you're doing. And if you're playing in a Guerrilla Showcase as an artist, you can actually add the link to your Guerrilla Showcase under your video list. So you can literally create this as the hub for all things. And one of the options in here that I don't think I set up for everybody, but you could actually have a link section. So during, you could have one of your links be Friday Zoom meet and greet, 2 to 4 p.m. And that link would just open that up. So you can sort of create those additional points of communication and conversation within here. So I'm pretty jazzed about those two opportunities. Like I think the overall content of stuff is going to be quite a bit of fun, but that in particular I think is really going to be nifty. And with that, I'll stop talking about the technical stuff and let you guys start talking about how great you are at making conferences work for you. You're good at it. Everyone's quiet now.
Did we lose Wendy?
Yeah, we've lost her about 3 or 4 times. My guess is she may come back, but well, we got a question. Michael R.J. Roth, the problem with the exhibit hall is having a hangout. Is there a way to have a buzzer to call the exhibitor? Yes, there is. You write in the chat, and the exhibitor gets the notification that there's a chat in their exhibitor room. So they can go respond to that chat. And honestly, from the chat, you can actually open a one-on-one video directly with a person if you'd like to talk that way. So you've got that ability for people to leave you messages and for them to check you out while you're gone. I think FAI did a really good job of trying to figure out the exhibit hall first time around, but really all they had was a Zoom link. So you either had to be sitting in a room waiting for someone to come in, or you missed it. Here, you can put all of, Celia, you said it earlier, you can basically put all the stuff that you'd have on your table at the exhibit hall sitting there ready to go so people can check it out. And if they've got a question, they can leave a message and you can get back to them.
Yeah, it's oh, go ahead, Melanie.
It's just such a great idea because it's like your lead is coming to you.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there. And whether it's somebody who's going to want to listen to your music or go to one of your shows or, invite you to an open mic, you're making contacts.
Yeah. And for artists, that form function, getting the sponsor lead, and I can't because I already did it on that one, but I can go to Petty Chavez because I set it up so that I can redo it here. You can go in and you'd literally just have a click this button saying, yes, I want to join this mailing list, go. And Celia is going to get a message at the end of the conference with everyone that signed up for her exhibit hall.
That's great. That's really, really helpful.
We got our friend down under jumping back in. Good to see you, Wendy.
Wendy, if you pause your video, you might be saving a little bandwidth, and then we could hear your audio better.
These are all the things we learned.
That is an excellent idea.
Yeah, I was going to throw in there for those people that are thinking of doing a showcase, a Guerrilla Showcase. It's a lot of fun to meet all your artists beforehand and do sound check with them. I mean, that's 8 contacts right there.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
true.
You know,
You get to know
for
each other well too, because you're working on a common goal. You know.
right?
absolutely. So I should point out, because we got Wendy back, even though we can't see her, she's now this gray circle, but it's a good looking gray circle. So we're happy to have you. Very fashionable, gray and black always in. Um, Wendy has been running for a number of years a really wonderful sort of, I believe you call it the Mining Conference Gold workshop through her company, The Prosperous Artist, which really is all about the physical things that can make conferences really work for you. And I've attended it before. Rory, I know you've attended it before. I find it pretty
Yeah.
excellent.
It's really powerful. It really covers a lot of the stuff you need.
So we'll throw that up there in case anyone's interested. Just keep in mind she's in Australia. The time zone thing's gonna kill you. So be aware of
So
that.
can I address that? So
Of
that
course.
link is a free workshop and it's recorded, so the time zones don't matter. You can download the audio to your own device if you want and carry it with you. I know I've often offered it as a freebie, live and or recorded, prior to NERFA and other conferences. And people like to download it and listen to it in the car on the way to the conference and things like that. So whenever you can find time to it's just audio, so you can just listen to it whenever it works for you. And no, that does not need to be an Australia friendly time when you consume it.
You got to turn that into a podcast. That would be a great podcast. I'd listen to the
yeah.
crap out of that.
It would be. Yeah, we could totally talk
Anchor.fm.
about that.
Super easy. Do it.
What's that?
I said Anchor.fm. You can start a
Anchor.fm.
podcast really quickly and easily.
All the cool kids
Awesome.
are on Anchor now.
Awesome. So yeah, and I have no idea what's happened today. I'm so sorry. I keep dropping out. I don't know what's going on. I'm on Zoom and Teams meetings all the time, and this does not happen. So I just don't know what's going on. But I did have 2 key points from that workshop that I'd love to share at some point if there's time for that.
You go for it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So one of them was related to something that some of you were sharing earlier about naming yourself. Like I heard Rory mentioning Lady Beast, and I think at least one other person mentioned something also that I didn't fully hear. And the power of that. So that was one of the key points I was going to make, is that it's a really great idea going into a conference to have a compelling way of introducing yourself that catches people's attention. So you've got a couple of great examples already, and different people's experience of how well that works for them. I loved what you said, Rory, about how when you have a really great name, it not only really draws your target audience to you, your tribe, but it also repels the people who are outside your tribe. And that is a wonderful thing, because you don't want those people anyway. You want the people who think it's awesome and who love that it keeps those other riffraff out. So it's worth thinking about a way to describe yourself. It could be a name like Lady Beast, or it could be a way of describing what you do. It could be all kinds of things, but something brief and compelling, a way that you can introduce yourself. And a thing I highly recommend too is, and I don't know what the online platform looks like in terms of interaction opportunities, but at any point that you have an opportunity to say hello, introduce yourself with your name and your tagline. So, hey, hi, I'm Rory Kelly of Lady Beast, right? Like that. And people will remember you, and it's a great icebreaker. It's a great attention getter. So it's worth spending some time thinking in advance about some compelling way to name yourself.
We always ran the exercise.
You do, but ideally, it's more of a vibe, like Rory's example. Sorry, Ethan, what'd you say?
I was about to say we always in the Welcome to NERFA panel that we ran for years, we always referred to it as an elevator pitch, and everyone should be able to describe who they are and what they do in really no more than one sentence. My addition to that particular exercise is you are not allowed to use the word unique. Because I find when you allow people to use the word unique, everyone says that they're unique, at which point no one's unique. So
Yeah, and
I
it
will
doesn't
say-
say anything anyway. Most adjectives are kind of vague and conceptual like that, rather than actually, like Lady Beast really captures a vibe, right? What other examples did the rest of you have?
Well,
don't-
I was making a joke because my tagline is like colony with an N, but that's not really a tagline.
But it's
does help, though.
memorable though, right? Well, first of all, if you have a name that's challenging to pronounce, and if you were here at the beginning, you know that I have one. Because people have known me for how many 15, 18 years I've been coming to NERFA, still mispronounce my name. So there you go. I could use something like colony with an N.
Well,
but people
I
will
actually-
remember you for that. So it's at least memorable.
Yeah, I actually, when I'm in Zoom meetings, or if I have the opportunity to do a banner like the one that's up on the screen,
Go ahead.
I straight up phonetically spell my first name, because it is challenging to some people, or to a lot of people, and it actually, I found, puts people at ease.
So you do that, you do your real name, and then in the middle you spell it out?
I phonetically spell. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. I like it. It's cute.
Oh, I was wondering what that was. Solia.
I got you
Yeah.
covered.
Thanks, Ethan.
That is very cool. Solia.
Yeah, so that's and it is memorable. Wendy's totally right about that.
Good tip.
Well, I think the overall idea is go in with a battle plan. I think we've all sort of discussed that, and do your best to make connection and find the people that are looking to make connection. What I love so much about Rory, sort of your story and the way I see you interact, and Celia, certainly what I learned from meeting you, and colony with an N is what I've sort of picked up from getting to know you, is all three of you do a tremendous amount of listening. And I think that is, if you're going to a conference of performers, being the one that listens is an amazing way to distinguish yourself.
Oh, that is a really good point, because I have to say that some of the artists that I really bonded with, I mean, they came to our showcases, and being new, that when we saw other people who we had seen on posters and like have the big room showcases, they came to our showcase, and and it meant so much that they were listening to us, that we saw faces and they weren't like on their phones, and and they stayed for at least half of our set, that is a big deal at a conference,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of this is a slight tangent, but one of my favorite experiences in just realizing that I'm an asshole was I was doing the Welcome to NERFA panel, and right before the panel started, they told us that they were adding someone to the panel that we had never been introduced to. We didn't know. And I don't know why. And again, this speaks to why I might be the problem. People kept coming up to us and saying, "Oh, you're going to love him." And by the time the third person did that, I had in my head decided I was going to hate this person. And this guy walks in and just comes right up to us. My music partner Jake Bush and I were on the panel. He's like, "Ethan, Jake, I've heard so much. I'm so happy to be here, be with you." And like, he was so over the top nice. We thought he was just putting it on. So we spent the entire panel being like, "That guy, don't like that guy, don't like that guy at all." And later on, we're walking the hotel rooms, and we hear this really great voice and this great music. And we're like, ooh, and we peek into a Gorilla Showcase, and it's this artist who sounds like $1,000,000, and like immediately we're like, oh crap, he's good too. And he's in the middle of a song, looks up to a room full of people, stops playing, and he goes, Ethan, Jake, oh, it's so good. Do you guys want to come in? Do you want to play too? And immediately we realized he was not the asshole. We were the assholes. And that person is Jesse Terry, who is one of my favorite human beings in the world. And if you ever want to see someone win the world over with kindness, I have seen him walk into a room full of, he could walk into a biker bar and come out with 30 friends. He's just that kind of guy. Anyway, small tangent, but the learning lessons of walking into meetings at conferences with preconceived notions.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Very
Well,
nice.
we're an hour and 10 minutes in. I've been looking to see if there are any questions people have, and I am not seeing so much of that. Are there mentor opportunities from Tina? I don't believe there's official mentor opportunities, but there are a number of peer groups for both of the conferences, and there'll be opportunities in, I believe, each of the peer groups at NERFA. One of the peer groups will essentially be virtual dining room tables where everyone will enter that particular room, and we'll have a moderator basically quickly start matchmaking people. So that'll be a way to replicate the old never sit down with people you already know that Rory mentioned earlier. And we will similarly have another peer group that's more sort of based around, focused on, coming with very particular purposes, so you can go in knowing who's going to be in it if you want to ask specific questions and work on that. Tina again. I just suggested the town crier. He's so damn good.
It's really good.
He's so damn good. To make it worse, when Jake and I were driving home from the conference, you leave conferences, or you used to leave conferences with like stacks of 40 CDs that everyone's given you. And I don't know about you guys, but we always had this 3-4 hour drive home. Would be going through, CD by CD, and you'd always try to listen to the first song completely. And if it was good enough, you'd see if you could get a little bit more into the ones after that. And, we were going through, we were like 30 discs in, we're not even looking at them. We're just putting them in, listening. And we get about 3 songs into a CD, and we're like, damn, this is really good. Who is it? We pull up the CD, and we're like, it's fucking Jesse Terry. And we're like, oh, damn it.
This is so funny. That's like so East Coast, Ethan. Like
In
California, and down here, we'd be like, "Oh, he's nice,"
We're like, what's his problem? He's nice.
I know. It's like he's too nice. What's wrong with him?
I'm from Boston. We don't trust that. We do
I
not
know.
trust
I'm from
that.
New York,
That's
and we
such a
don't either.
Massachusetts thing.
We're like, do you want money from me? What are you doing?
So literally, and I apologize, I'm going to swear a little bit because it's my way, because again, from Boston. So we listened to it, realized this is our favorite CD from the conference. Jake's listening. He's like, man, the background vocals are really solid too. Who's the background vocals? He pulls out the thing, looks, he's like, and I just see him like, I'm driving, and he looks over and he goes, it's his wife. And I was just like, so he pulls out his laptop. We're driving back, and he's like, I'm going to write a letter. And I'm like, all right, read it to me as you go. And he literally goes, fuck you, Jesse Terry. Wait, let us explain. And then goes through the entire story, explaining sort of our bad behavior, apologizing profusely. And he is absolutely one of the people I think most dearly of in this world. But that's definitely an East Coast, West Coast personality thing going on. Anyway.
Yes. Well,
I
sorry.
I wanted to mention that I dropped out for a moment because I went to the YouTube stream, and my friend Orange G, who's going to be on the showcase on Saturday night, I believe, he's from Pittsburgh, and he and I have been attending the Ham Bones open mic, which was it was a real venue in Pittsburgh. But,
Nice.
they closed down after the pandemic, and actually the founder passed away last year. So we have a memorial community growing every Tuesday night for East Coast, and Just wanted to mention that he was on the feed just now.
Nice. Yes, he was. Hi, now, Lenny.
Hey, cool.
Well, I'm trying to remember if there's anything that we didn't really touch on this time that we talked about last time that we should say. What do you guys think? It's late for me. My brain's clearly addled. I just told the story with a bunch of 4-letter words in it. So
Now I know we're allowed to curse.
well, I think it's too late for allowed to really be the word. It happened.
Oh, it's always loud when it's
yes.
me.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think through everything we talked about last time around.
We talked a little bit about not being intimidated if you don't have all the latest gear.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Good point.
Making what you have work for you instead of feeling like you have to go buy a bunch of stuff that you still don't understand.
Yeah. The example I think I gave was Adam Ezra, who's another Boston kid, but he lives half the time in California, so he's a nice Boston kid. But he's someone that at the beginning of the pandemic, the very first night of the pandemic, he did an hour-long show, and 500 people showed up. And at the end of the show, he basically said, "Hey guys, this is a scary time, but I'll make a deal with you. If you come back tomorrow, I will too." And he's done about 540 straight shows at this point, 520, somewhere in there. I lose track. But he averages a night anywhere from 350 to 500 or more people. And per week, each of those videos gets roughly 10,000 watches. He had a relatively good following beforehand, but the intimacy of that fan artist relationship has changed substantially for a lot of artists because of what this experience has given us. And hate to keep using Adam as an example, but Adam had COVID 2 months into this, and he played through it and, shared what was going on with him and shared, the experience and shared his fears and shared what was going on. So, for artists out there that are basically saying, I'm not getting the audience, the audience reaction that I need, it's not worth it. I would suggest it's there. You just need to sort of see it from a different light, because there really are amazing stories from people and what they're learning and what they're gaining from this experience.
Absolutely.
And I think you can't be too honest. People actually want that close connection. I think we worry about wanting to appear the most professional and wanting to have the right gear. And the truth is, people are craving more than ever, like, humanity. And if you're willing to be human, and if you're like, oh no, I made a mistake, haha, I'm terrible, people will actually connect with you over it. It actually makes you stronger. It actually makes your connection stronger.
And ironically, the reason I brought up Adam, I didn't even mention, Adam's done every single one of those shows with $70, $80 USB microphone, and that's it. There's no fancy camera. There's no fancy footwork. There's no fancy anything. It's just an artist singing songs and telling stories and being honest. And
Yep.
for the folks that are saying, well, I don't have a really fast computer, I've seen his computer. I'm pretty sure it's powered by gerbils, and I'm pretty sure at least one of them isn't even alive. It's a thing, but the opportunity's out there, and I hope people take advantage of it. I think Far West has some really remarkable programming that Julie Zipper has put together, with Celia recently joining the program committee, whether she knows it or not. And I'm really looking forward to a lot of those panels. Similarly, I'm super excited about what Nerf is up to. I'm excited about the keynotes that we're doing. I'm excited about the awards that they're doing. I'm excited about the awards that we're doing. There's a lot of really great stuff happening, and I love feeling connection in this time, because I'm still not going out. I'm not someone that's going to indoor restaurants. I've kind of drawn a line, and I really loved the outdoor shows this summer, but I'm not at a point where I'm really comfortable doing the indoor shows. So having an opportunity to really check in and catch up with people, I think conferences offer that. And even in the before times, I always joked with so many artists that I adore, like Rory, that really it was 2 or 3 folk festivals and NERFA were the only places I knew I'd get a chance to see him.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I'd get a chance to catch up. So there's no reason why that part has to change.
Well, have a great conference, everybody, and look forward to running into all of you again.
Yeah, same here.
Yes, definitely.
Thanks everyone for being here. Thanks to Celia Chavez. Thanks to Rory Kelly, the Lady Beast musician, who is badass. Thanks to Wendy Keelan, whose name I get right at least the second or third time. and thanks to Nalini, who I finally have gotten the name right. And I told you, by the end of the second session, I get it. You guys have been great.
Thank
you,
you all.
Ethan, for
Thanks
putting
for
this
getting this all
together.
together. Yes, thanks.
Great having you all. And we'll see everyone soon. We'll run some commercials. You guys can see the fun stuff with a bunch of videos making us look sexy, folk musician sexy. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Good to have you.
Bye.
See them.
Bye.
Let's talk about love with a capital L. When was the last time you heard it spelled?
This is a real treat to be able to just play again from the comfort of my home.
In the proper place.
And I haven't invested in this yet.
Whatever. Let's do it.
I'm glad you saw the vision.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to sum up.